Whether you're new to the wedding industry or you're a photographer who just also loves shooting weddings as a second shooter, today I'm sharing my 4 best tips about what makes me a favorite second shooter for the photographers I work with. Hey guys, Shelby here. I am an East Coast lifestyle and family photographer, and during wedding season, I book a few weddings myself, but primarily I am a second shooter. I got into second shooting last year when I knew I wanted to add more photography to my calendar, but I didn't necessarily have time to go from inquiry stage to gallery delivery with weddings based on my schedule. So I said, you know what? Second shooting sounds like a lot of fun. It's an hourly rate and it gets me more experience in the wedding industry if I ever wanted to break into it more. Last year I was able to second shoot about 7 weddings for 4 different photographers, and this year I already have about 13 on my calendar. Today I'm going to share my 4 best tips that I can give that made me a favorite for these photographers, which is why my calendar is already full and I'm looking forward to another great wedding season. The first tip that I would give is that I put myself out there. If you are looking to get into second shooting, you have to put yourself out there. You have to let photographers know that this is what you want to do so that they can approach you when they need a second shooter. Often photographers wait 2 to 6 weeks before a wedding date to look for their second shooter because they're trying to find someone who doesn't already have a wedding that day. If you want to start second shooting, let photographers know. Last year I jumped into my referral group and I said, hey all, I want a second shoot this summer, so if you are looking for someone, please reach out to me. That is how I got 3 of my second shooting referrals. They saw me in the group, they were able to check out my work on Instagram and on my Facebook and my website, and they said, hey, I have this date, are you available? From there, I was able to fill my calendar with dates, meet other photographers, and build relationships that were able to get me even more work further down the road. So if you are looking to get into being a second shooter, you have to put yourself out there. Don't wait for someone to say they're looking for one. Let photographers know that you want to be one, and be prepared with either galleries or experience or even just links to your website and your Instagram so they can immediately see your work and know what your style looks like. It doesn't matter about editing. They just want to make sure that they can trust you to get the photos taken because you're not responsible for the editing. So convenient. Tip number 2 is to say yes. Say yes to what they ask of you. So if they say they would like to have a phone call with you before the wedding, say yes. Be sure to be available so that they can get what they need from you. Things might be like going over timeline. A lot of photographers want to talk through the timeline and let their second shooter know what their responsibilities are. So be available, say yes when they need to do something like that. Also make yourself available if you're local together. If they want to get things like SD cards to you before the wedding because you're going to be in different locations to start, you just want to make sure that you're not overcommitting yourself, and when you say yes to a date, really say yes to it and make it a priority. Tip number 3 is to be honest. You need to let a photographer know what you have experience with and what level of experience you have with it. I ran into this a couple times last year where I was asked to do all of the grooms and groomsmen getting ready photos and then some of their portraits, which is totally normal to ask of a second shooter, and I just didn't love the location. I didn't love how they were coming out. So it was really important for me to tell the primary photographer right away that I didn't love the groom's portraits that I took, and if she had time, she might want to grab a few more. It took her no more than 2 minutes to accomplish this, and that way, if my photos didn't come out in a way that she could use them, she still had some. So it's just really important to be honest to a photographer and let them know when you need something or miss something right away so that they can still deliver a full gallery to their clients. And then tip number 4, this is my soapbox, but you need to show up as an assistant first and a second shooter second, unless magically the photographer you've hired has an assistant already and all they want you to do is shoot. A lot of times the second shooter is also going to be the primary dress fluffer, veil thrower, and bouquet holder, and you have to be ready for that, and that has to be where your heart is that day. Don't use second shooting primarily to fill your portfolio. You will, and I try not to be negative, but I'm pretty sure you will irritate a photographer if they've hired you to be their second shooter and you are standing next to their hip taking the exact same photo they are taking. That's not what they need from you. They need you to be coming from a different angle. They need you to be helping and doing something different. And honestly, take care of them. One is like you're their employee, so you should be saying, what do you need? What do you want from me? But also like consider them a friend. So wedding days are long and hard, and go get them water. Do all these little things, pick up their bag, change their batteries out, whatever they need you to do that day. Be that person for them. A photographer is going to remember you helping them more than they remember your work, unless you really mess up your work. But if you've done all the right steps where you have experience and you've done your settings checks and you've shot the wedding the way you would shoot a wedding, your photos are not going to be their primary thought. But if you're the person that grabs their bag, changes their batteries, gets them water, throws the veil, constantly offers to help, they're going to know you're a really reliable second shooter and someone they want to work with again. Those are my 4 best tips that I could give that I think make me a favorite for the photographers that I work with. All of the photographers I worked with last year have asked me to shoot at least one more wedding with them this summer, and I think a part of that came from being this kind of second shooter for them, being someone that put themselves out there and said, this is what I want to do. I was available so that they knew they could rely on me to be where I needed to be, when I needed to be there, because I said yes to everything leading into that day. And I was honest. If I thought I missed a shot, if I didn't like how something came out, if I wasn't sure what my settings should be for the flash, I asked them, and I think they really appreciated that because it showed them that I cared what I was doing and that I wanted to present with them the best work that I could. And then finally, I was an assistant first and a shooter second. A lot of photographers will let you keep the photos and edit them and use them on social media, websites, portfolios. They will have stipulations on how and when you can use these, but you shouldn't be going into shooting with that idea of, I am doing this so that I can build my website, because that's not what you're doing. You are going in, employed by the primary photographer to help them build their client's gallery. With that in mind, always be the person that offers to get water, hold the bouquet, or find Aunt Marcia for the family photos. That's what they need from you that day. And if you do that, they will be wowed and they will be ready to hire you again and keep you in the loop. Thanks so much for stopping by for another weekly video. I will see you all next week with my next one.